think everybody can name at least one player that comes to mind when you hear the word overrated.
Amari Cooper, the money that he's being paid, you got to show up in big games. He was not that dude. You got to be one of the best receivers in football. He was not that dude.
There are some players around the league who still aren't getting the respect that they truly deserve, while others seem to be getting a little too much praise and hype for our liking. Which brings us to this list. Let's dive into the NFL's top 5 most underrated players heading into 2022, as well as the 5 most overrated. And hey, a big shout out to Lazar Eam for offering a similar suggestion, which we decided to tweak a little bit. Underrated, Kevin Byard. When you discuss the top-tier defensive players, the likes of Aaron Donald, DJ Watt, Jalen Ramsey, Myles Garrett, and Nick Bosa are just a few of the names that come to mind. But it's time to start including veteran Tennessee Titans safety Kevin Byard into that mix. Because, quite frankly, Byard has made a compelling case as the NFL's best safety. His impact on the Titans' renaissance under Mike Vrabel cannot be overemphasized. Byard is a world-class ball hawker, but he's also just as good, if not better, in the coverage game. He recorded 23 interceptions and 53 pass defenses between 2017 and 2021, leading the Titans to the playoffs in 4 of those 5 years. Since 2018, opposing quarterbacks have a mere 70.5 passer rating when targeting Byard. In 2021, he allowed only a 51.7 completion percentage when targeted. That is downright ridiculous considering that the Titans lack superstar-level cornerbacks. Byard is the straw that stirs the drink on that Tennessee defense. Derrick Henry, understandably, gets most of the credit for the team's success, but that Titans D has been vastly underrated for a long while, just like their all-world safety. So hey, we really suggest you start putting more respect on the name of Kevin Byard, folks. Overrated, Dak Prescott. We really hate having to put Dak on this list, whether you love or hate the Dallas Cowboys. Number 4 isn't somebody that's exactly easy to dislike. And his return to dominance was nothing short of inspiring after suffering that gruesome season-ending ankle injury in Week 5 of the 2020 season. But no matter how much you like or dislike Dak and the Cowboys, it's too hard to disagree with the idea that he's maybe a bit overrated. His stats are superb, no doubt, but it's mostly Prescott's lack of postseason success that earns him the overrated label. At the end of the day, he just hasn't produced enough when Big D has needed him the most. Dak is 1-3 in the postseason with 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. 2 of those losses came at home. He put up a big stinker for 3 quarters against the San Francisco 49ers in the 2021 divisional round. You win and lose as a team, but a superstar cornerback has to elevate his play when it matters most. And let's be blunt, the Cowboys have one of the deepest star-studded rosters in the entire league. Dak has the resources to win big games, but he hasn't done it often enough. There is still plenty of time for Dak to turn it around and prove us wrong, but for now, we have to consider him overrated. Underrated, T. Higgins. The 2020 second-round pick has delivered some Pro Bowl-level production over his first 2 seasons, but it still seems like he hasn't been given proper recognition for his performance thus far. Think about this for a second. Higgins gets drafted to a Cincinnati Bengals team that already had likely future Hall of Famer A.J. Green and young phenom Tyler Boyd. But just when it looked like he'd maybe emerge as the new number 1 wideout, the Bengals drafted Jamar Chase with the number 5 selection in 2021. Though Chase went off to enjoy the best season ever for a rookie receiver in 2021, it didn't stop Higgins from elevating his own play. He racked up 74 receptions for 1,091 yards and 6 touchdowns. He averaged an impressive 14.7 yards per catch too. It was breakout season for Higgins, but it went largely unnoticed among many thanks to Chase's record-breaking performance. Some did start putting more respect on the former Clemson wideout's name after his 2-touchdown performance in the Super Bowl, but he's still being undervalued and overlooked by many. As long as he's playing on an offense with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Joe Mixon, it'll be tough for Higgins to get the credit he truly deserves. But if he can get a few Super Bowl rings out of it, I'm sure he won't complain. Overrated, Eddie Jackson. The Alabama product broke out in year 2 with the Chicago Bears, leading the franchise to an NFC North Division title in 2018. That year, Jackson racked up 6 interceptions. 2 of them were returned for touchdowns, along with 15 passes defended and a pair of forced fumbles. Jackson earned first-team All-Pro honors as well as his first of 2 Pro Bowl selections. Proving 2018 was no fluke, he had another stellar 2019 season with 2 INTs and 5 passes defended to earn his second Pro Bowl nod. In January 2020, Chicago Chicago rewarded him with a lucrative 4-year extension worth $58.4 million. Inexplicably, Jackson's play has significantly declined since signing that deal. He didn't record a single interception in 2020 or 2021. And worse yet, opposing QB's passer rating skyrocketed to 110.1 when they targeted Jackson in 2020 and to 143.6 in 2021. And according to Pro Football Reference, Jackson surrendered a whopping 6 touchdowns in coverage last season. Yeah, that's a lot of money for a suddenly mediocre starting safety who carries the second highest cap hit on the Bears roster, behind only Robert Quinn. Underrated, Ryan Ramczyk. It doesn't make sense. How does Ramczyk have 3 All-Pro selections, 1 first team and 2 second team nods, and yet he has never been named to the Pro Bowl? Can anyone else figure that out? Ramczyk has been a rock on that New Orleans Saints offensive line since they drafted him 32nd overall in 2017. A darling at Pro Football Focus, Ramczyk was ranked as the 9th best player by the good folks there for the 2019 season, and the 48th best player for 2021. No, he's not on the level of Trent Williams or David Bakhtiari, but Ramczyk isn't that far off either. Offensive linemen tend to be overlooked these days, Ramczyk especially. He's been a cornerstone on that Saints offensive line for years now, but it's just too easy for folks to get distracted by the other star players that he's played with, like Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara. But sometimes, a quarterback, running back, or wide receiver is only as good as their O-line. Fortunately for the Saints, Ramczyk has been a top-level offensive tackle for half a decade and counting. Overrated, Devin White. White is constantly hyped up as one of the NFL's premier defensive players. He absolutely went off in the 2020 postseason, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wouldn't have won Super Bowl 55 that year without him, plain and simple. But a deeper dive into the numbers tell us that White has lacked one thing in his young career: consistency. The number 5 pick of the 2019 draft was named to the Pro Bowl in 2021, which made no sense at all, actually. After breaking out with 9 sacks in 2020, White had just 3.5 in year 3. Also, PFF graded him at a horrible 36.2 on the season. Think about that for a minute. And to be honest with you, White wasn't that good in 2020 either, despite earning a second-team All-Pro nod. The sack total was certainly nice, but White also graded out at just 43.4 on the year by PFF. Take away the sacks and his dominant postseason performance in 2020, and White has actually been a bit of a liability for that Tampa defense, rather than the superstar that he's widely regarded as. Underrated, DJ Moore. The Carolina Panthers have endured 4 straight losing seasons, but it is certainly not the fault of 2018 first-round pick DJ Moore. Moore has been a stud in Carolina despite lacking anything close to a Pro Bowl level QB. Cam Newton has been washed up since DJ entered the league. Kyle Allen, Will Greer, Teddy Bridgewater, and Sam Darnold weren't the answers either. And yet, Moore just continues to cruise along with Pro Bowl level production. Not having Christian McCaffrey in the lineup for the better portions of the last 2 seasons meant more attention on Moore from opposing defenses. But not even that has slowed him down. 2021 marked his 3rd straight year of over 60 catches and over 1,000 receiving yards. Just imagine what Moore could do with an elite QB throwing him the ball, because what he's done with uninspiring QB play thus far is simply incredible. Overrated, Amari Cooper. This isn't at all to suggest that Cooper isn't a game changer. He is a top 20 receiver in the NFL when he's at his best. But there was a time where Cooper was widely considered to be a top 10 wideout. And those days, my friend, have passed. Cooper changed the Cowboys' 2018 season around when they acquired him in a trade with the Oakland Raiders ahead of the deadline. He and Dak Prescott went off and looked to be one of the game's next elite QB wide receiver duos. But that didn't quite come together. Like Prescott, Cooper had a knack for not always showing up when his team needed him most. The 5-year, $100 million extension he received from Dallas in 2020 wasn't a horrible contract, but Cooper certainly did not play like a top 5 receiver after signing that deal, despite the fact that the boys were paying him like one. Cooper finished with 865 yards in 2021. That's his lowest mark in 4 years. The Cowboys dealt him to the Cleveland Browns in a cap-dumping move, having decided to move forward with Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb as their dynamic duo instead. Cooper shouldn't be carrying a higher AAV than Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, or Chris Godwin. I'm just saying. Underrated? Rashan Gary. It's hard to believe, but Gary was viewed as a boomer bust prospect heading into the 2019 draft. The Green Bay Packers took the risk and selected Gary 12th overall. And needless to say, they do not regret that in the slightest. The 6'5", 277-pound linebacker has quietly emerged as a focal point on that Green Bay defense. It's just hard to stand out when your team is headlined by Aaron Rodgers, and when you play on a D that also features Jair Alexander, Devondre Campbell, Preston Smith, and Kenny Clark. But did you know that Gary was PFF's number 34 ranked player of the 2021 season? I mean, the dude put up 9.5 sacks, and PFF had his pass rushing grade at 90.1 on that year. And yet, we're talking about a guy with 0 Pro Bowl or All-Pro nods on his resume. The focus is always on Rodgers, but if the Packers ever get back to the Super Bowl, the Michigan product will have been a major reason as to why. Overrated? Saquon Barkley. It's hard to believe, but Barkley's last good season came 3 years ago. Injuries have unfortunately taken a toll on the number 2 pick of the 2018 draft, but even when he was on the field last season, Barkley really wasn't much of a game changer. His rookie year was full of highlight reel moments. Barkley won Offensive Rookie of the Year honors after racking up 2,028 yards from scrimmage and 15 total touchdowns. Despite missing 3 games in 2019, Barkley salvaged 1,003 rushing yards. The former Penn State star missed all but 2 games in 2020 due to an unfortunate ACL tear. He played 13 games in 2021, but Barkley was barely noticeable. He averaged only 3.7 yards per carry and 45.6 rushing yards per game. That is way off Barkley's 2018 level of production, and yet you keep hearing about how he is a must-have in fantasy, or how he'll carry the Giants' offense in 2022, and just on the hype train goes. Well, we're not buying it anymore. You can overrate him all you want, but Barkley's days as a top 10 running back are clearly in the rearview mirror. For Giants fans' sake, hopefully he can prove us wrong with a bounce-back season in 2022. But who do you think is the NFL's most underrated player heading into 2022? And who's the most overrated? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.